Hey everybody, this is Mike, and today I'm going to show you how to use a threshold object in the ScienceLogic SL1 dynamic application. This is the third video in a series of working with alert formulas and dynamic applications. So if you haven't seen the first two, you'll be missing a little bit of context. I encourage you to go back and watch those. If you're just here to learn how threshold objects work, that's okay too. So we have the AWS billing performance application that's part of the Amazon Web Services Power Pack that we're using as an example today. So we'll go ahead and drill into that using the wrench and head on over to alerts. Now here we have our alerts that when the bill goes over $5 or the bill returns below $5, we'll get an alert and eventually an event out of that. Now, it's a little short-sighted because we may want to change that number. In fact, there's pretty good chance you're looking for a number higher than $5 before any sort of alert would be generated. So what we can do is use a threshold object. We'll go over to the Thresholds tab, and we're going to go ahead and create a threshold name. We'll just call it budget. And we're going to keep that numeric range kind of high. This will depend on the type of application that you're working with and the size of your organization. If you're developing this application to be used widely across a set of organizations, I encourage you to use a high number. AWS bills can get quite high. So for this use case, I'm just going to set it to 100,000 on the high end and 1 on the low end. And instead of using a percentage as my threshold type, I'm going to set it to an integer. If you wanted to also allow people to adjust the threshold to within cents, you can use a decimal instead. Threshold unit will be dollars. And the initial value will be 5, which is what we had it set to before. We'll go ahead and save that threshold object. Now, back over to the alerts. Let's start with the bill going over $5. Now, instead of hard coding 5, what we can do is use this threshold object that's here. You can see the T_852, T standing for threshold. We'll go ahead and add that. Now, we also want to wrap this in a threshold function so that we can use the value in our formula. So instead of saying the AWS bill has exceeded $5, we're going to use %T to access the value. Go ahead, click Save. And we're going to change the name on this so that we don't reflect our old hard-coded value, bill exceeded threshold, or budget, however you'd like to name it. Go ahead and do the same thing with our healthy event. So instead of hard coding the 5, we're going to do threshold T_852. Go ahead, close our function. Again, %T to access the threshold value. And bill return below threshold. Go ahead, click Save. And one more thing that we want to do just to make it consistent is we'll need to change the names of our events to match the names of our alerts. So we'll click in here under events. The bill returned below threshold. Excellent. I had done this previously, which is why it matches currently. So you would probably see something like this if you were following the other videos. And we'll go ahead and just change that $5 to threshold instead. Save that policy, close it out. We'll do the next one. Bill exceeded threshold. And it's not required that these event names match the alert names, but I do find it easier to keep track that way. And that is how you set up and use a threshold object in a ScienceLogic SL1 dynamic application.